Assalamu alaikum, children. I hope you are all good and you must have started your studies. In my last session, I was talking about the difficulties faced by Holy Prophet ﷺ and his followers. And I told you that when the difficulties were increasing day by day, Prophet ﷺ, on Allah's command, he decided to send a group of followers to Abyssinia. And the present name of this country is Ethiopia. It's in Africa, so very far from, you can say, Makkah. It was a very difficult journey, and it is called the first migration. So, as you know, that we always discuss the topic on the basis of the question which appear in the exam. So, one of the past paper question that I have taken is write an account. I hope you can see my screen. Okay, let me convert to slideshow. Yes, now it's more clear. Write an account of the first migration hijrah of the Muslims to Abyssinia. Now focus on the question. It is saying migration of the Muslims, not of the Prophet ﷺ. Prophet ﷺ never went to Abyssinia, okay? So we will be discussing in the A part. A part is of 10 marks, as you all know, and we will be writing the whole event, giving details of the knowledge, and then we will be focusing on the B part. What was the importance of making this migration at that time? Okay, let's move to the first part. So as you can see on the screen, when the persecution, the severity of the persecution and the insults and tortures acts, the polytheist, when I use the word polytheist, means those who were worshipping more than one god. Upon the Muslims, then when it increased, it was at that time that Surah Zumar was revealed. Now, what Allah said in Surah Zumar? Good is for those who do good in this world, and Allah's earth is spacious. It means कि अल्लाह की ज़मीन बड़ी है. अगर आपके लिए बहुत तकलीफ हो रही है यहाँ पर रहना, तो you can find out some other part in the world where you can go. For that reason, one day our Prophet ﷺ told the Muslims that you might as well spread on the face of the earth and Allah will bring you together once again. So it's not necessary that you will be separating, leaving your homeland Makkah for for a long time. You can return back, inshallah, when Islam will progress. So, upon Holy Prophet ﷺ's advice and permission, the Muslims' procession that constituted 12 men and 5 women, they left their homeland, including Hazrat Usman Razira Ta'ala anhu, Hazrat Ruqayya, who was Hazrat Ruqayya, the daughter of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. And the second group consisted of 79 men and 7 women, inclusive of Hazrat Jafar bin Abi Talib, the son of Abu Talib and cousin of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, so they went in 2 groups. The same year in the month of Ramadan, when Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was by the Kaaba, when he started to recite the verses of Surah Najm in the presence of a large number of idolaters. Now, both the Muslims and non-Muslims were there. What happened? The impact of the word Allah was so spellbound that they fell in prostration. यानी मुसलमान और काफिर सभी sajde mein gir gaye. This news was misreported that the whole of the Makkah had accepted Islam. So this news came to the people in Abyssinia and they were very happy and they started making preparation that now the whole of the Makkah had accepted Islam and their persecution will be over. So the Muslims in Abyssinia, hearing this, made their way back. On reaching Makkah, they realized that the news was not true. It was not a true news. The Quraysh, hearing about the good treatment meted out to the migrants, redoubled their persecution. When they came to know that the Abyssinian are not creating any trouble for them, they redoubled the persecution. Now, seeing the plight of the Muslim, the Prophet ﷺ allowed them a second migration. Second group, as we have read earlier consisted of 79 men and 7 women, inclusive of Hazrat Jafar, cousin of Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Let me move the slide. Okay. So when the Meccans came to know of their migration, they were much upset and sent some men after them in pursuit. But the Muslims had a long start and could not be overtaken. Now the Quraysh were very angry. They thought that they should send someone to bring them back so that they can persecute them. So they formed a deputation under Abdullah bin Rabi and Amr bin al-As, who went to Abyssinia with handsome gifts for the king so that they can make them understand their agenda and what they want. In due course, this deputation stood in the presence of the king and listened to their representation. Then he sent for the refugees and asked them what they had to say. So he was a very fair ruler. He did not just rely on what the Quraysh were saying. He also called one of the refugee, and Jafar was made the representative by the Muslims. Jafar bin Abu Talib, and brother of Ali, acting as a spokesman for the Muslim, he stood forth and made reply. He said, O king, we belong to a people steeped in ignorance. Our fathers and grandfathers worshipped idols. They oppressed and persecuted the weak and the helpless. He deputed a man to be his prophet and his messenger. So he said that Allah has sent a messenger to us. And what this man is saying, this man spoke to us of one God and appealed to us to worship no one but him. We listened to his appeal and accepted it, and this made the Quraysh anger. So what they did, these people demanded that we should renounce our faith and once again revert to idolatry. We refuse to give up our new faith, and our enemies refuse to give up their persecutions. So the persecutions were so much that finally they came to Abyssinia. Now, after hearing this, the king was greatly impressed and returned the gifts brought by the leaders of Makkah and said, I will not hand over to you these innocent men and women who had come to me for shelter. Nevertheless, the disappointed Meccans hit upon another plan. Now they thought that what shall we do? Next day, they tried to incite the king. Now they wanted to incite the king by what they're saying, telling him that the heretics did not believe in the divinity of Jesus. Since Negus was a Christian, so they thought that if we will try to incite him by using the word of Jesus, maybe he will agree. But in this too, their hopes were frustrated. The Muslims confessed on the basis of Quranic verses that they did not look upon Jesus as God, but as prophet of God. Okay, they made it very clear that we do believe in Jesus as the messenger of God, but we do not take him as our God. The king picked up a straw and pointing to it, he said, Jesus is in fact not even this much more than the Muslim have described him to be. So he agreed with what the Muslims have described, empty-handed and humbled. The deputation from Makkah returned home, and the leaders of Quraysh gnashed their teeth in anger. They were very much angry that their plan was all flop. The Abyssinian immigration gave the Meccans a conclusive proof that the Muslims were ready to run all risk and undergo every form of hardship in the cause of Islam. So when the envoy of the Quraysh came back to Makkah unsuccessful, it infuriated and dismayed the Quraysh, and they intensified the persecution of the believers living in Makkah. So this is the whole story of the event of the first migration to Abyssinia. When you are writing your answer, you must cover all the facts. Now I'm moving to the B part. Now, let me again recall that when you are attempting B part, you are not writing description, you are not adding the knowledge, you are just giving your reasoning, okay? And the length of the answer should be 8 to 10 lines. And what is the length of A part question? 250 to 300 words. So there is a vast difference between A part and B part. A part is all about knowledge, and B part is about understanding and reasoning. So let's now move to this part. The question is, what was the importance of making this migration at that time? Okay, what was the importance? So, number one, this migration allowed Muslims to practice their religion freely. They were relieved of the persecution. This is one major important factor, that they got relief from the persecution. These early Muslims or early converts, they learned that there are places outside Makkah where they could preach and practice Islam and live in peace. So it opened their mind, it opened different avenues, that it is not necessary to get persecuted and keep on living in Makkah. They can find out other places. Okay? Furthermore, away from the birthplace, their feelings of brotherhood strengthened. When they were away from their own birthplace, their motherland, Makkah, the feelings of brotherhood were strengthened and they form a close-knit society. They learn how to manage their affairs in the absence of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They knew that they can even survive if the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is not alive or he is not with them. They can still practice the religion. They should not give up their religion. Now, third reason, this first political move strengthened Muslims' bond of fraternity and experience of practicing Islam with peace. It prepared them for the biggest migration in future, that is migration to Yathrib. It developed an understanding that yes, they can go to other places also. So this migration was also important at that time, as it aggravated the Quraysh, who learned that it is not easy to curb Islam for their personal gain. So they came to know that Muslims are not easy to be, demolished or to make them away from their religion. So this is all about the B part. With this, I'm ending the session and see you inshallah in the next session. Okay. Allah Hafiz till that time.